Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. I'm still at it. I'm back on it, as you can see. I got stuff done. I even got into this. This is all what I removed. Oh boy. Stick around. Oh my. How much I get that very recyclable away? That'll pay for all them parts that I ordered. Yeah. No. Well, it's time to get back on this. The next stage of the game here, I've been sitting down thinking about what way I'm going to build this in terms of what order. Here's some of the things that I got to do. Of course, I got to mount the cab. I got to do all the work to the cab. But when it comes to this here, I got to pull the engine out of it because I got to swap out engines. I have to thin out the wiring harness here, because I got this going on and that goes up behind the dash, so I got to haul the dash out of it. So I've been thinking about what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the dash and the wiring out of here, and I'm going to remove everything out of here as well. Take the motor, transmission, and the wiring out of there, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on this one here. Just to, it's just more dismantling, taking stuff apart, but it's all a part of it. I'm looking at the whole point of the things that got to be done. They're all on the list. When to do them. Like, I could turn around and leave this alone now and pull the motor out of it, put one in it, and get it running, and then later on haul that out and do all the wiring. But I think, in my mind, I'm a little bit ahead of the game here now. And I think there's a bunch of stuff that I can do to this here now to get it ready. I think, also thinking, with the engine and transmission out of this, I can do a nicer job mounting the body in place. Like, I got to put a motor transmission in it one way or another. And when it's all out, I can probably give this all a quick flick across here when it's all welded up. It'll be a lot easier to weld it in the middle here with the motor transmission out of the way. It's a lot easier to weld this section up here with the dash out of the way. There's a whole bunch of reasonings behind it. Because I think that if I pull the dash out, pull the motor transmission out, got all the wiring out of the way in the front, and all the wiring out of the way in here, I can bring the cab in, get it done, get that all mounted where it got to go, weld it on, then I can start putting everything back where everything got to go. Because once the cab is on, it won't be coming off. So what I'm going to do here tonight is I'm going to pull this dash out and get this wiring, everything out of the way. I've been online again. And like every time I went at ideas on this, I thought about how do I go about this, how do I go about that. Pulling the dash out of this is not that complicated. It's a bunch of plugs. I just finished watching the video, a couple of videos now on it. Again, there's numerous guys out there showing videos on how to pull these apart. So I'm just going to dig in. I'm going to start on clipping everything, getting everything out of the way. Again, it's just a bunch of nuts and bolts in here and there. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts holding the dash in place. Okay? Then I got the steering column got to be let go. And then the wiring harness out here got to be let go. Right here. They got to be unbolted and popped in through. One of the nicest things is like a whole bunch of Legos, like I've said it before. All the plugs. You may think that I'm going too far with this. But I got to take the dash out in order to thin out this wiring harness. And I can do all this at any time, the thinning out of the harness. And with this out of the way, I can move on to getting everything else done. And when it comes time to put it all back together, all this is done, okay? So, let's get started. I just got to start popping pieces off it. This here is supposed to pop off. Simple as that. Unplug a few things and just start going from there. I got to dismantle this here. I got to take all the gauge cluster out of it. Drop the column down. And I'm just going to dig into it. Wow. I never took anything out in my life so easy. Especially in the way of a dash. This is all one unit. And everything just unplugs. Is it? And everything stays on with the dash there. And then everything is over here. I let go. There was a bolt here, a bolt here. There was one here, one here, one over there, and there was one right there. And that's what held the dash in place. Oh, and there was a bracket down here with 2 bolts and 2 bolts. Then you had the 4 bolts for the column. And all the column is part of the dash wiring. You just unplug everything and it's just push, pull. And all the plugs are different, so they can't go back in a different location. What else? I had to go out here on the firewall and unbolt the actual fuels panel. It's just a 10mm bolt unbolted, push down the lever, that fell into the floor. That's part of the harness. And that was the extent of that. Over on the other side, it was unscrew a couple of grounds. Down here was 3 grounds down there, and unplug 2 plugs down here. And there was a couple of plugs right here that I let go. I unplugged them. And unplugged this hose here. I think that's pretty well it. Yeah, I think the hardest part that I come across is on the, right here. I suppose it's still on it, is it? Yes. It's this little doohickey here. This little cable. That got a little small knot on it. It's, I think, a 5.5, but I think it's a 7/32, the same thing. And you can see the little wiring. That runs the, what I call the pernindle. But the, that was there's tricky because it's a little tiny cable, you might break it off. So you gotta be careful on that. But everything else just snapped off. And there's the dash there. I can take that right out of the car now, put it away. Now there's nothing for the steering column to bolt up to no more because that all bolts up to the dash. But that's no big deal. This is the harness I'm talking about. This one going across here. This is the one all the door wiring and everything's in. So I had to take it apart to get at this here. I'm glad I took it off now because see this here? This stuff here, I can guarantee you I'm going to catch that light. If I goes to weld anything to this, I'll be burning all that up. And I can see that happening. So I'd like to be able to take it out. I don't know how much trouble it is to get the heater out of the way. And then take that out of the car. Or how far down. I might cut it off, that's all. And just take the upper section out of it. I want to put it back there because it's a good sound in there. But I am concerned about it catching fire. I'll cross that bridge. But now that's it. So now what I'm going to do here now is just start tidying things up here. This is the first part of it. I expect I was going to spend a few nights at this. I'm out here and I'm going to say hour and a half most. At the most. That's it. That's part 1 of this dismantling. All the wiring is gone. It all just simply unplugged. Had to let go of the handbrake lever here. There's a few plugs in along here. I had to let go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plugs along there. And the harness came out. What's left in it now is the actual body harness, which I got let go on this side here. So I'm going to do the same thing out here as well, just to get it out of the way. I'm not doing nothing with this harness. I'll leave everything alone on that one. I'll just move it to get it out of the way to tidy things up. And I got to unplug it all from the engine and everything anyway, so I won't have to worry about none of that. All I got to do over here is pull that there to grab it on the firewall, and then that's the engine harness there. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grounds on the inside of the dash here. So you can't forget them. And then there's one back here. That's a ground for the fuel tank. And of course then there's one up there for the computer. They're the vital ones that you gotta keep remembering, right? But there's the harness. That's the entire harness inside the car. That's what's in the dash. Oh, I'm gonna hear it now. Now that you got the dash out, put the stock one back in it. Not going at it, people. Everybody's been talking about running the stock dash. I likes it better. That's fine if you got a stock dash to go with. I'm not fooling with it. I'm keeping all that there. I've seen guys who wired it all up and changed everything. It's a lot of work. All I got to do is bolt this in, plug everything back in again, and I'm way to go. And that's my whole plan with this. I'm not fooling around. I'm going to take all the doors out of this, and that's pretty well it. The power windows and the power locks, and then the rest of it is staying. Up here, Everything is staying. The only thing I got to figure out is the airbags. I've been looking into the airbags, how to bypass them with like a 10 ohm resistor and put them right into the plugs. So I might end up doing that. I'm trying to have this so that I don't have no problems with dash lights. That seems to be the problem with the dash light. Anyway, that's going to be it for me on this for this evening. I got done what I expected to do. I expected I was going to be out here all night. I'll get it started and that'll be it. But I got it all out. Deadly. Next thing I'm going to do here now is I'm going to start prepping this engine to get this engine taken out. But the one thing I'm going to do here, because I have all the harness let go over here, and it's let go over here on the inside, right here where it goes down to the firewall, I got that let go in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the harness off the engine. I'm going to take my time here now, go around, start unplugging stuff, figure out what it is, label it, so that when I can take it off, I can take this here and lay it aside and I haven't got to worry about it. I won't be doing nothing with the harness on this here, out in the engine bay. It is going to stay like it is. And I'm just going to take it off just so that I can actually make it a lot easier to work in there to get the engine and everything out of it. Because I'm going to limb everything off of this, from the radiator right back to the firewall. I'll leave the heater in it and I'll leave the brakes on it and the steering column in it, and that'll be the extent of it. So I'll start maneuvering this stuff around here now and getting it set up so I can actually get the harness out of it. And 15 minutes later, and I got this out on the floor. Nothing much to it. I got everything let go up on the firewall, all the heater boxes all let go, coming down around. I had to let go over here, the ECU. I got that all let go because it came out in sections. And other than that, it was the ABS brakes and the fan. The rest of it, that was pretty well the extent of it. So the rest of it is the engine harness that's left on the engine. So I got to work on getting that let go. But I'm looking at thinking to myself, well, why not just start letting everything go? Because I can put all this on top of the engine, pull the engine out, and dismantle that after. I got to work on the start motor, get the wiring out of that, and get down underneath it and get the start motor wiring and everything, because that runs over here and goes down through there, and there's a couple of plugs and a few things down there. So I'll get down there now and get all the starter wiring and all that let go. Make sure all this is loose. If it's loose, I might just lay it on top of the engine for now so I can pull it all out one unit, and then when I gets it out, I can lay this on the floor and start converting it parts from one engine to the other. That way everything is where it's supposed to be, because that's the issue I'm wondering about, if this fuel rail is going to be the same, because this is a single fuel rail. That engine has a dual fuel rail. I don't know if that fuel rail will fit these injectors on this intake. Who knows? I'm unfamiliar with these 4.6s. So I'm going to go on now and start checking out everything on the bottom, getting everything let go. I hate mechanical work. I hate mechanical work. I hate mechanical work. I hate mechanical work. Oh my. Tried my damnedest to turn around and clean all this up and take it apart and drain all the fluids out of it. No. I turned the oil pan bottom up on the floor. I kicked that out of the way and put it in the wrong spot, and everything dumped on the floor. You can try as you might. You're always going to make a mess. I got something to clean up here now. But I got all the front hauled off it. Moving in through it. I got mostly everything from the top side let go. I got the harness laid on top of it. I'm going to leave that there for now. I got the heater hoses from the firewall let go. There's a few plugs in that down here I had to let go. The AC condenser, I got that lifted up and laid out there. I got two sensors back here. Them do flicky things there. Mine's gone blank here now. Trying to think what they're called. O2 sensors. I got two of them. I got unplugged around the back of the block. I got the ground let go. I got the power brake booster let go. I got to let go of the fuel lines over here. And that's pretty well it for the top, I think. Yeah. And then I got to get down underneath it now and start letting all the mounts and stuff and all that going. But before I go at that, I got to clean this mess up. I'm only going to make another mess down there. I want to drain the transmission fluid out of it too, but I know I'm going to make a mess of that too. Because I know when I start lifting it up, I haven't got a tail shaft here to put in it. Or do I? You don't want another transmission? Nope, so you don't want that transmission. So, Might as well haul the pan off the bottom of it. See if I can save some of the fluid. Keep it out of it. But yeah, mechanical work is lovely. But that's it, all you can do. It's all a part of it. I'm getting through it. It's all coming apart. Everything is, you know, I'm labeling everything as I'm going. So, I'll get back at it. Poor man speedy dry. Old sawdust. I do a lot of cutting of firewood at my basement with a skill saw. And I saves up all this. I usually sift it through a milk crate to get the heavies out. But I never got a chance to do it. So, I got blocks of wood and everything here on the floor. Well, that's it. Still haven't got it cleaned up. I come out here today and I said to myself, I'm going to have to get this motor out because I'm just going to end up making a mess. And I might as well just get it done over with. So I come out here at 9 o'clock this morning. It is now about 2:30 in the afternoon. And I've been here the whole morning letting everything go. The actual manifold studs were rotted out to the point that there was no nut there, and I had to take an air chisel to them. I got them off over there, so they put up a fight to get the front exhaust off the car. This thing here, my buddy worked at Avalon Ford, which is the Ford dealership here, and he was a transmission guy, and he told me about these cross members. He said these were a nightmare to get out. So I said to myself, I'm going to have to work on this. I'm willing to say I'm well over an hour and a half trying to get this out. There's 4 bolts in it, and it's pressed up inside the 2 sleeves on either side. And you tell me that wanted to come out? I used 2 pitchforks, a hammer, and a pry bar here, and an air chisel. That's how I had to get that out. I had these jammed up on the top side of this here, banging it out this way, trying to push down on this here. It wouldn't fall out. You can take the bolts out, transmission was still laid on it, and it wouldn't even come out of the car. What a nightmare that was. But I got it all out. Everything is let go. I'm going to grab a bite to eat now. And I'm going to come out here and pluck this engine out. Just look at that. That's what's stopping this from coming up. I didn't want to go haul the column apart in this. Not at all. Trying to get that out. What's the chances of getting that out without heat? Slimming down, isn't it? And there's not enough room on the other side of the engine to move it over. Right in here. She's touching here on the box, so she can't move over anymore. She got to come straight out there, but either the steering column got to be taken out of the way, or the manifold needs to be taken off, and that's not happening. Look at the studs. Brutal, I'm telling you. Let me go see what I can figure out here. I don't think I'm going to haul the steering column out of this, just to turn around to clear that. Oh my. As rusty as that column is, you know, it came apart pretty easy. Let's try it again. Well, I finally got it out. I had troubles. I forgot to let go of the power steering line. This one here. Forgot to unbolt that, and I can tell you it was not easy to get off. Now, I'm here looking at this now, and some of this stuff is pretty crusty. So, I'm going to go online now and have a look and see how much new power steering lines are for this, because once she gets everything in this, you're not going to be able to get at that. But, yeah. She's out. Now what I got to do is I got to start comparing everything from this motor to the other motor and figure out what I'm going to be changing and what I'm going to be doing between the two of them, because I'm putting an older engine in it. The transmission so far looks to be the same, so I may not have to change that. I'm not worried about this one. This is high mileage. The other one seems like is a low mileage engine, so that's all I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about horsepower. I know that engine is making less power than this motor, but that's minor. This is not a cop car anymore. This is a cruiser now, man. It's an old pickup truck. Like I tells the boy says it only got like 200 horsepower. And I said, my old Chevy only had 110. So what am I going to do with 90 more horsepower? Well, I'm not going to lose myself. Anyway, I start getting everything straightened away here now, and we start sizing up the differences. So here we are. I got the motor out, and I got the replacement motor laid here. This is a 2011 4.6. This is a 1998 4.6. Now, I knew there would be some differences. I went on the encyclopedia of Google and done search after search after search, went on a bunch of forums, just going around, just trying to find out what the difference is. Now, the biggest thing you come across, this is a PI motor. This is a non-PI motor. What that is, simplified, this got performance heads, this don't. Okay, that's basically what it boils down to. I think this makes roughly 60 more horsepower than this engine here. I'm not hung up on horsepower. I don't care about that. This is just a daily beater. My little Chevy had it was a 267 in it with a two barrel on it for a lot of years. I just like cruising around. I'm not one for horsepower when it comes to a daily driver. More fuel economy than anything else. But anyway, so I have the two engines here, and everything I could find out. I couldn't do much. I looked at the transmissions. They seem to have the same transmission. Then, when I got the engine home and I start looking at different things and start sizing things up. And this is right now, with two of these laid on the floor, I've learned more in the last couple hours than I learned all my research. And why do I say that? Is because the one thing I found with Ford is that they seem to change everything. Henry Ford was a brilliant man. When he built the Model T and the Model A's and that, his whole concept was to make them so they're interchangeable and you can actually build them. Now, this is the problem I got here with two of these here. Now, I come from a GM background, so I'm familiar with the LSs. The LSs from, I think, 1998 or 2002, I think, or something. Whenever the first year they came out. Right on up until like 13 or so, the LSs came out. The only real changes they made in them was their crank sensors changed in terms of they had different teeth on the crank on one and the other, but it was two of them. So, you just had to find out which one you had, and then you had to address it according to that. So that was the first thing I looked at, that was the cam sensors and the crank sensors on these here. Oh, they're the same. There don't seem an issue there, because what I want to do is I want to take all the wiring harness off of this engine, put it on this engine and transmission, and put it right into that there. Boom, done. That's what I wanted to do. No, that's not going to happen. I'm going to walk you through a bunch of stuff here now, and I can tell you it's something else. So this is the transmission that I got. This engine here had, I don't know how many kilometers. It come out of a limousine, and it was low mileage, and it was a good old combination. Now this transmission here, when you look at this here, and you look at this transmission here, you look at the little ribs on the top and the way the back is shaped and all that, they look to be the same transmission. Great, so that transmission and that transmission is the same, or so you think it is. When you get in here, you're looking for, okay, we have a plug here. We have a plug here. I'm just simplifying this because some fellas will get very high tech with all this stuff and talk about the internals and the differences and all this stuff. I'm just going off a basic guy that's just doing simple builds, okay? And this is where I've come up. So I got this plug here, and I got this plug here. But now there's no more plugs on this one, on this transmission. Now come over here. There's the plug there. Now this here is your O2 sensor for the back. That's the plug there. Then you come over here, and there's the other plug there. But then you go over here and you realize, hey, there's another plug here. And then you start looking at it some more. This tail housing don't have no speedometer cable in it. There's a provision for a speedometer cable, while this one do, but is blocked off. So I got in contact with a buddy of mine who is a transmission expert on the Fords, and he tells me these are two different transmissions. I cannot take the electronics from this here and put it on this one here. This transmission is different than this transmission. So I cannot use this transmission with that harnessed. Now I'm using everything belonged to this car, the computer, everything belonged to this. That's what I want to use, 2011 setup. So right off the bat, I'm going to have to keep this transmission. Now this transmission was iffy. It shifted nice, because when I had it for a quick run before I blew the motor up in it, when you shifted into drive and you shifted into reverse, it was fast going in. It wasn't a slag or nothing like that. But the flute was a bit dark. So I'm going to get someone to check this out and go through it and see what it's all about. So now I'm into the investment of this here, because the problem with it is I need a transmission, and I just need to, and I'm after hearing these here have some issues, so I'm going to have to spend money on a transmission. So let's stop there and leave that alone. Okay, so right off the bat, we're having troubles with transmission, so I can't use transmission on this motor. So let's move up to the simple stuff, exhaust manifolds. Let's start over on this side over here. When you look at this side here, the manifold is there, and you can see there's an O2 sensor in the manifold itself, and there's a pipe coming out of the manifold that goes up and goes into the top of the plenum on the intake. Now you come over here, this side here, the manifold's totally different, and there is no O2 sensor in it. That's interesting. You look over here, you got a manifold here, no O2 sensor, no pipe. You come over here, no O2 sensor, but then now there's that pipe. This one's on the passenger side, while that one's on the driver's side. Okay. So, and the angle that the manifolds comes out on, if you look at them carefully, that one's straight, that one turns down, this one here turns down, and so does that one turn down. Now by looking at them, I'm trying to get an idea, that one over there is lower than this one. So the manifolds are different. So I would have to take the manifolds off of this one and put it on this one to make that work. So next thing you're saying, well, that manifold comes up into this intake here, and it goes into the intake here. Now this is where it starts getting all complicated. It comes into the same place on this one as well. So what do? I unbolt this here. Now this is steel pipe, whatever, I unbolt that from that. Now the next thing I get into is fuel lines. Over here, I have two fuel lines. So over here, I have this type of fuel line. So my fuel rails are different. Now, another cute one here, oil filler neck on the opposite side. I'm looking at a whole bunch of different things. This plenum takes the fuel return. Where's it to? There's a fuel return here somewhere, right here. This is some sort of return unit that goes back and goes down. This is the return setup on this here, which comes from the intake itself. Okay, it goes into here. Now this one over here, let's see if I get this right, I'm on the back. Yes, okay. That would be here somewhere. If you look, this unit here was on this one here, but you come over here, it's not on this one. Right, this will be here somewhere. So, them plenums are different. So then I gotta look into, well, why don't I just change the intake? That's what it's boiling down to. I've been told that you can put a PI intake on a non-PI engine. So I'd have to take all that off of that there to put on that there. But there's a special gasket, or there's a gasket, and you got to do some little finicking with the gaskets to make that intake fit that engine. So I'm looking at it here now, and I just showed you a few things. Like, of course, the common thing is the top pans looks different. That's fine, okay? I don't mind that. They are both the same engine. The short block is the same, basically. There's a lot of things going on here. Like, I don't know why. This is what I talked about Henry Ford making things interchangeable. So, in the case of this here, they completely took a simple engine, like this here, and they changed everything. Whatever was on the left, they put on the right. Whatever's on the right, they put on the left. This is what it seems like they did. And they just moved things around, and they relocated stuff instead of leaving stuff alone. You can go out and get a 1998 manifold off an LS and bolt it on a 2013, okay? And a truck. It's the same thing. And both of these come out of like the platform That's the Crown Vic, and I'm pretty sure this here was like a Lincoln Town Car, which is pretty well the same platform. So this is the issue. I run into this years ago with a little pickup truck I had. I done an engine swap on it, and one was a 98, and I think the other one was like a 96 Ranger pickups. And when I got into it, I had to take all the wiring out of one, put it onto the new engine, and remove all the stuff. It was basically the same thing what I'm running into here now. So my dilemma is that I got to run this engine block with this transmission, with this intake, possibly these heads. If I wanted to go put the PI system on this setup here, then I'm into building stuff and doing it all. All I wanted to do was take the wiring harness off of this, bolt it onto this, slap this in the truck, turn the key and drive it. So this is my dilemma right now. I've realized this here is going to have to be looked at. I need a transmission, and the one thing I'm worried about is if I want to go long hauls with this here, and to me a transmission is something that if it dies on you, you're not going to fix it on side the road. There's a lot of repairs you can do, alternator starters, all that, you can fix that on the run. But when you lose a transmission, you're done. So I think I'm going to bite the bullet on it, and I'm going to get this transmission rebuilt right here and have that done. But I'm going to put this on hold for now. I have an idea because I might have a line on another 2011 engine. Okay, I got to pull some strings and whatever to make sure that everything is copacetic and it's going to be good, because then that will be a direct bolt in for this chassis with everything that is done with all the wiring and everything like that. It was a learning curve. Now, this engine never cost me nothing, okay? A buddy of mine had it. I'm not going to hold it against him or nothing like that. I took it with the assumption that the two of them were going to work. Now, I still can make it work. That's not the issue. The problem with this is a lot of interchanging got to go on here. That I wasn't too, that I'm just looking at the whole point. There's got to be a simpler way to do this. Like, I'm trying to build a budget rig here, and I got to rebuild an engine to put it in it to get something to work. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take the transmission, everything off of this here, put this away for now, and put this back over here in the corner, and I'm going to step away from the engine part of it for a little while, and get this sent off, and start deciding what I'm going to do with it. I got a lot more to be at. I got to thin out the harness right here. I got that got to be thinned out. Up here in front, I've also noticed that I got some power steering lines that are going to have to be addressed, so I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with all that. I've noticed some of the air conditioning stuff on this car is not the best. Over here is, this thing here is a bit rusty. I don't know if you can see it there. Get out the light. There's a bit of rust on that there, and I'm not fussy on it. The condenser that's up front here, the bottom of that was gone, so I had to replace that. Now, I'm thinking that I might get my chances to get my hands on another Crown Vic that's got another one of these engines in it. The problem with it is, I've been told the transmission's bad in it. So that's the reason why I said I got to get this here looked at. Then I can just take the motor. Apparently it's a low mileage engine that I can get and put and replace this. Like, I just want a simple bolted in, throw it in the car. I'm not looking to complicate this and hot rod stuff on this here. I got my Toyota for that. This to me is, I want to have this as simple as I can possibly build it without too much complication. If I had to run into it and I had to run this engine, I'm going to have to go through the rigmarole of doing all the changing over and stuff like that. But for now, I'm going to hold off on this section of it, and I'm going to move on forward and just keep moving on with the build on the truck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting this harness straightened away, and I'm going to bring the cab in and start working on the cab. There's a lot of work got to be done on the cab, you know that. So I'm going to start working on that. This is the cab here. You can see there's a lot of rust on the roof. So I want to do all these repairs before I put the cab on the actual frame, because it's a lot easier just to stand up here and work on stuff than it is to have a full front on the car to try to reach in over the top of it, try to do these repairs here. Same with up in here, doing that repair as well. So I got lots of repairs to do on this here that I can tie up some time on. It all got to be done. So it's not like I'm going to have any downtime. It's just that I run into a little bit of a bump in the road, and I just got to work around it. So I'm going to get all this stuff put away and poked away for now, and I'm possibly going to have to start on this one here and start thinning this out. I think it'll be interesting to do a little bit of work on the wiring here. So I'm going to go get all this stuff all put back and get the place straightened away here, because I'm going to need room in the garage here. So I got that put back where it was, and I got this moved over here for now, because I'm going to have dismantled it. I'm not going to bother with that today. I decided to get started on the wiring. This is what I got done here now. This is the entire body harnessed from the firewall back. What you see here, this section here, this is one door post. That's the other door post. That's what's in behind the dash right there. Up there is around the gauges and goes out through the firewall. Coming back on this side here, we have the, I think this is the airbag controller, the brake light switch controller or something. It goes up there. That's mounted right on the center console. And then this is the power seats. I might leave them there because I may want to incorporate a power seat into this at some point. So I might leave this set up there for now. But you come out here, I got the door wires going out there, coming back here, going out to the doors again. And coming back through the car here, go over here. This is all fuel. That's a few of you have to point out to me because I said in the last video I didn't know what it was. I figured it out after it was. That's all got to do with the fuel. All this here, that's the plug there that goes into the fuel tank. You see it there? There you go. That's the plug goes into the fuel tank. And that there was mounted in. So I'd like to move this section right here. I'd like to be able to move that up here more. So put it in the cab. Okay. This here line got to stay where it's to. That goes over to the tank, which is in the same location. That's not moving. That's staying right where it's to. Then you go back through it here. There's that micro switch, the one for the rollover for fuel, shuts the fuel pump off. Then you go back through it. This here had a trailer hitch on it and it had wiring for it. I never bothered to remove none of it. I will be removing it. And if I need to put one in, I'll put one in at a later date. This is for the EVAP going across here. That's mounted underneath the back floor. I'm probably going to leave that in for now. I'm just trying to put everything in it that I know everything's going to work. And I don't get no lights on or engine lights or anything, so I'm going to hook everything up like it's supposed to be. And of course, this is the taillight harness. I got it laid out just like it's in the car. Over on this side here now, you come down this side, and of course there's more seat stuff here. This is for the seat, passenger seat. And that went over to the passenger seat there. And then I got the door stuff and coming back through it. This is mostly all rear defog. I don't think I need any of that back through there. I got to go through all that. There's speaker wire, I think there's somewhere that I got to get into. But that's what I'm saying. I got it laid out here now so I can go through it. I'll probably start back here in this corner and start stripping the harness. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making my way back through the harness, unraveling it, taking all the coatings and everything off it, and removing any wires that I don't need. This switch here, I'd like to be able to move that up here somewhere. I've seen guys just cut them off, tape them together and to eliminate them. But I'm just trying to keep everything like it is. Don't want to go butcher and stuff. I'm trying to keep all the electronics and the wires as if they were. So when you see the switch, you know what it is. If by heaven forbid I ever roll it over, that switch will work. So I'm going to go ahead now and just start in cleaning this out, stripping it apart, and work from my way from the back and work my way up to the front. You got to be comfortable. A little bench, something to sit in, and just put up with the sticky glue all over your fingers for a while. It's a slow process, but I don't know, I just find it relaxing. I haven't kept going here. I'm working my way along. I'm not fully taped it up yet. I'm going along and what I'm doing is I'm working my way back through the harness and I'll come to an intersection. And what I'll do then, as you can see here, I have two wires here cut off. These are wires that were cut off up in the harness farther, and I'm just working my way through them. So I got to go down and then it goes up into here somewhere and I'm going to have to de-pin them. I know that for a fact. It already goes up there. Then, like all these wires here, I got one there, that one there is, I think that's some sort of alarm system or something. I haven't figured it out yet. That was up in the dash, top of the dash. They used to have lights in the corner of the dash, so I think it's some sort of alarm thing. I got to find out what it's for. But what I've been doing here is when I come to an intersection like this here, I take all my wires up, and it's usually about 24 inches or so, and I'll pull everything up to here, and any of the ones that I got to cut off, I'll just pull them up to here, straighten them all up, and I'll go past my actual junction block and I'll cut them all off again. There's a lot of short pieces. You might want to say, well, why don't you save the wires? I'm not concerned about that. because I don't want to confuse them. There's no good in going all the way over the other side and trying to pull the wire right on through this whole harness. I'm just going one section at a time. I went as far as here, pull the wires, and then I come over to here, and where's the next one? Yeah, come over from there. You can see I stopped here, and I pulled the wires through there, and then I come over here, and I found the next one, which was here, and I pulled all the wires here, and I cut them off again. Now I'll go from here, and I'll head almost over to the other side over there now, with that entire harness, and I can pull all them wires through there, and get rid of them, and I'll tape it up as I'm going, because I found out a couple of times I had to backtrack with some of the wires that were over here. They went over and they turned around, they came back again, and I realized that they were going over here to a plug or something like that, so I had to do that. So once I get this all figured out, I'm happy with it. Be very careful what you're doing. Down here, I was running wires. I got a bunch of wires here that go into this block here that went to the doors, and I basically got to unpin the plugs. You can see them here. I got them cut off short, but I'll leave them alone. I want to unpin them from the actual plug itself. But I made the mistake of this wire here. I got taped up with the green tape. I just got it taped together for now. When I was cutting the wires off, that one there got in the middle of it, and I cut it off, and I wasn't supposed to cut it off. So I got to rejoin that one back together again. That was the mistake I made there. But the rest of them, it's just I'm just following the dead wire on the end of it, and I'll take that one wire and I'll just peel it all back through it. So there's always going to be an end like this on your wire. When you're pulling it through, you'll always find your end, so you know that you're not interfering with none of these other wires here. Anyway, get back at it again. That's what I took out of it, and this is what I'm left with. I got it done back here now, and I'll probably end up having to shorten some of the wires or whatever. Just my two taillights, my evap system. There's a ground back there for the taillights, and it's for the taillights. Then I come up here, this is the fuel pump, right here. It goes down to the fuel tank. And then you come up here, and I gotta move the head. This is in the cab now. This is the fuel pump relay thing. And then there's the switch, the rollover switch. And there's the behind the seat speaker wire. Then you move up. This is the passenger seat. Now I'm trying to figure this one out. Still going through some of that because I got a passenger seat, or driver's seat and a passenger seat, sorry. And they seem to run into this box here, and I don't want to go fooling with that because that got to do with seatbelt lights and stuff like that. I'm trying to keep all that working in the car. But so I'm just got to go through that a bit more. Then you got the door speaker over there. Then these just got to be tied up. You got your seatbelt plugs right here. And then the airbag one is there as well. That brown one's the airbag. And I'm leaving that there for now because I'm thinking that if I removes all that, I'm going to have issues with the light on the dash, and I'm trying to avoid that. So I'm trying to, I got a way that I can actually just plug into them and then turn the light off, and I haven't got to worry about hooking them up. Then, of course, that's the corner of the door post there. Everything going out through there. There's a few grounds and everything over there got to be grounded. That goes out to the firewall and the brake light switch. Then this orange wire, I think it's got something to do with security. It goes over this way and it comes back over. I got to have a look to see where it goes. I might disconnect it because it doesn't hook up to nothing. And it was laid underneath the dash, so I'm probably going to eliminate that. Then I got the brake light switches in here as well. This is all heater stuff, I think it is. That's the heater there. And this is hooked up to the pedal assembly, I think, isn't it? Where's that going? It goes right here, yeah. It's gas pedal. There you go. It's the gas pedal in that. That's the two for the gas pedal. And then the heater, and then it's another wire. This is the passenger side. Passenger side door wires, this one right here. Then this is the passenger side seat. It goes back through. You got your seatbelt and your airbags. And then you got your rear speaker. And then that's the rear wheel sensor. Where's the one for over here? The wheel sensor for over here. Where we got that poked to? It should be here somewhere. Oh, there it is there. There it is. That's the other wheel sensor for the side over here. Right there. Got that rigged up there and the one over there. And that's basically it. All I got left to do now is what I did is when I cut these off, I come up here and I just cut them off right at the box. I just left them alone to see what wires I don't need and whatnot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to depin them sections there. I got some to depin there and some to depin here. The rest of them, everything goes somewhere. And there's no dead wires anywhere going in that. It's just on these plugs here. This is where it gets power from to plug into the dash and whatnot. So I got to go through them there now and depin them. But that's basically it for that. What I'll end up doing here now is I'm going to go over this again. I got it all roughed in. I got a bunch of it out of the way there. But that tells you how much. That's all the wiring that was for the doors, basically. Yeah, for the doors. Dome light is there. I took that out after. I never bothered to put that in. And then there was a rear defog. And there was an antenna for the radio that went back into the back dash. And they used the antenna in the back window. So all that is gone. And that's basically what you see there. That's stuff I don't need. So I'll get this tidied up now and I'll go through this once more and see what I got. So I got away from it for a night and I went and did some research. Looked at a few guys that were wiring these cars up, what they were doing different and stuff like that. My biggest concern was the actual airbag system. A lot of fellas are just taking it out. So I went and traced it back. And I kept the entire, I never cut no wires in it other than where they went into these plugs here, right here, and right here. Right here, there's a wire that goes into that. And then there's a wire that goes into that. And I think there might have been one that went into that as well. I'm not quite sure. But that's all I did is I cut them wires off. But I left everything together. And the seat ones are all that there. Because I think this might have had like airbag sensors in the seats. And the seatbelt sensors. And all goes in that module. And all the fellas that I've been looking at have been doing the wiring, and it eliminates this altogether. So, this is the basic harness here. That's the back here. We got a wheel speed sensor. This is a speaker for the back of the cab. That's the speaker for the door. And you come across here, goes to the heater box. And that's the electric gas pedal going across here. Brake right here. That's the block that goes on the firewall. Over here is the passenger side door or driver's side door speaker. There's grounds right there. And you go back through her. This is the micro switch and the fuel regulator thingamabobby thing right there. And then we got the back speaker here. You go back here. That is the fuel tank. That's the emissions dooflicky thing. And that's the taillights. And that's basically the wiring harness, what they says it is. I'm going to take it up here and fit it in place now, just for a quick mock-up. This side here I'm more concerned about, because I want to make sure that this here ends up inside the cab. And then what I'm going to start to do, I'm going to start back here, and I'm going to tape it all up. This is my plan. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this all works. But what I've researched and looked at, this is what the boys are doing. So I'm going to have to get into this harness, the one in the dash, because I'm going to have to remove all the airbag wiring out of that. And then I'm going to have to get the engine harnessed in and remove the airbag stuff off of that, just to get it out of there. And you probably can leave it there, but I think the dash one is crucial because there's an actual plug that plugs into that, or into that unit there. That goes into the dash. So I got to trace that back and see where all that goes to. The fun of it all. But yep, here's where I'm to. Now I'll test fit this, see what it's like. I went and just laid it back up in place where the plug goes. Ran the wires up across the top there to get that started. And then this here wires will run down the side here, like so. The back of the cab is in this vicinity somewhere. This is the fuel thing switch. I've been told about them on pickup trucks. They're out underneath the back chassis in them, and there's been troubles because it gets full of water and stuff like that. So I decided to keep that in the cab along with this here. This will be mounted somewhere, say, on the back of the cab like that, behind the seat. So if it has an issue, I'll just click on that. And I'll probably mount this somewhere like that on the back of the cab inside here. Then there'll be a grommet here somewhere, and the wiring will pass out through here for the wheel sensor. That's right here. That'll plug into there. It'll go up along here, go to the fuel tank, and go out over the top of the frame rail, out to the taillights. Now the back of this here has to be shortened. about here somewhere, I think it is. So all this is plenty here. I can run this nice and tidy up along here and run on one over there to plug the other light in. And the evap will go somewhere there underneath the box, somewhere in there. But that'll be all. All this harness will be underneath the box, and it'll just come out through the firewall right here. That's the reason why I taped that like I did there, because this will be the exit. So I'm going to have a big enough grommet here that I can get all this stuff out through the actual back of the box itself. But I'm pleased with that. I'm going to go over and size up the other side now, because I do have to figure out this here for the other side. I think the other one's a speaker wire. So I'll get an idea where that goes out through on the other side, and then I can start taping all this up. I've after seen guys do this, and you don't realize how little is to these harnesses that you actually need to make these things run. Now, whether this one's going to run, that's another question. But I went around and I depinned everything. This was all the wires that I cut off that were in plugs that were hooked up to like the windows, the locks, and the airbags and the seatbelt stuff. I just picked up one of these simple little tool kits and used that. Most time I use a small screwdriver, but there's a handful of them there, all different types. Right? And what I mean by depend them is I took them out of these plugs here, in through here. Some light on them. There you go. In there. It takes some of the wires out there, so it's all nice and tidy. Some fellas just cuts them off and leaves them, but I want to remove them all together, so there's no issues with them. But like I even had to take them out of the box going out underneath the hood as well. So I gotta search that down. Now that I got this all done here, I got everything taped up, and I went over. I think I got 2 rolls of black tape used on them. I got everything separated: tail lights, the evap, the fuel tank. All this here is fitting inside the cab now. Speakers, and then the end of this here will be just going up through a hole in the back of the cab to go to the wheel sensor, and same with the one over here as well. That'll be going up through the back of the cab. These here will mount in the factory locations again and bolt on, and everything will plug in normal, and then everything else going along here. One thing I don't think I talked about it. When you're doing these harnesses, when you're going through and removing wires, take it a section at a time and just have it so that this T section here doesn't move, okay? So when I come across here unraveling this here, and I was unraveling to this here, this wire went up here. Once I got to the other side of it, I taped both sides of it, so this wire stays exactly where it was before, and then I moved on. Don't go just tearing it all apart, because it'll really get complicated when you start letting everything go. So, because all these got places they got to be in the car, and as I was going through the harness, I'd stop in them sections, and I'd turn around, I'd tape that section up again, then I'd move on, stop, tape up that section, and move on, removing wires that way. That's how I did it. But this is basically it now for the harness. Got the harness inside the car done, in through here, and all out to the back is done. Now I'm going to get into the dash, I think. I got to get into the dash. I'm going to have to get into the engine harness now, because we're removed all this. I'm more curious to see how this is all wired and underneath the dash for this stuff, right? Because my biggest concern with this car, and the reason why I was leaving a lot of that in there, is because I don't want lights on the dash. I don't care about the airbags. I don't need them in the truck. And the seatbelt light, I was concerned about that being on, where it's not plugged in or whatnot, and the seatbelt got to go over HEPS. But what I looked at on the seats, there was a lot of wires underneath the bottom of this seat that hooked up to different stuff. She had sensors and everything built into the seats. I got all that eliminated now. So I'm going to go into the harness here now, because all the plugs for this stuff here is mounted. It's mounted on the dash. That plug got to go. So whatever that's hooked up to is getting eliminated. Got the dash here, having a quick look at it. It's upside down here. This is the top of the dash, the bottom of the dash. This is the ABS, or the, no, not the ABS, the airbag sensor thing that plugged into the floor there, which I removed. So all them there have to go. I have, in here, I got an airbag plug here, an airbag plug here. I'm going to leave the airbags alone. Over here, I got the column section here. In amongst that, there's airbag wires that plugs into the column itself. Then I got to find out which ones are which. So I'm going to take this apart and just trace everything over. I know for a fact I've already looked at them. A lot of these wires here are gone from the plug, from the existing one. This is the one that plugged into that. That plugged in there. I can get that to hold in place there. That went like so, into that. Just for argument's sake. And you can see like the pink wire, the green wire, and just a few more wires on it, but there's a blue wire there. These ones here, I got to trace them back, see where they goes to, and eliminate them as well. And then unpin them from here so they're all eliminated from this. A lot of this stuff is for seat belts and airbags. That's what I'm eliminating here. And probably, yeah, that's pretty well it. Radio, all that stuff, or the heater stuff, heater controls, all that stay. So, but I'm gonna have to take this dash apart to do it. Now, a few of you are probably saying, "Honey, what are you at all?" I enjoy this stuff. I don't know what it is about this. I just find this relaxing. I've got needs a hole in the head or what. I don't know, but it all seems to me just like as a challenge. Now, whether it works now is another thing. Anyway, I'll get this dash star hauled apart now. Made short order of that. A few screws here and there. And I took the airbag set up out of here, and I just had to unclip all the lines and all the plugs and everything. And I ended up with this. So now I'm going to go through that now and thin it out. It's going to be a bit tricky. This got casings and everything on it that I'd like to keep on it and snap it all back together again. So that's going to be a tricky one. So I'll get started on this and I'll start thinning it out. Main thing with it is I got the main plug that went down to the transmission tunnel. That one there I wanted to remove, and then I wanted to have a look through whatever else was there as well. Now that was a lot of work, and I got all the airbag stuff out of it, but there's not a lot there. It was the plug, and like that was the biggest one on there. I just got tracing all these wires here, and that was it. And that's traced them all through the thing and disconnected them. This was a tricky one. I didn't want to go and walk into this in the middle of it. I had to keep my brain on this because as you can see the way this all fits together, I got to make sure I get this back in the dash the proper way. And I had to take it all apart, all down through here. All the covering and everything had to be taken off it. That there plastic thing had to be removed. Hopefully I got it done right. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that back in the actual dash itself and get the dash back together. And that way everything in the car is done. I got it all back together and all the wires all back in. It took me a while. Just one problem. I'm over here now. I got all these bolts here accounted for. But this fella here is these ones here, this bolts on here. And you can tell me, or I can find that where that goes. No, my son. So I got to sleep on it now, I think. I don't know where it goes because I got everything bolted in, the pieces and everything put in place. And I got one left. I hate that. I got a toolbox full of them. Anyway, but the main thing is I got all the wiring plugged in and it's all gone through and straightened up. I'll source this tomorrow. I found out where he went. Right here I had one of these black screws put right here. This black screw belonged on the outside of this vent here. I got one screw left here now. When I flips the dash over, I had the vent out over here, and it bolts on the front of the dash. I had two left over for the bottom of this here, or the face of this up on top here that bolts on here, but there was 3 screws across here, not that 2. So that I needed another black one. So I took the black screw out of here and put that spare screw that I had in there. And now I got used up all the screws, so I got nothing left over. Bonus! When it came to the airbag, this is the canister that's in the actual dash itself. There's a nut on the end of it. It just slips out. I removed that. Be very careful around this stuff. This stuff is extremely dangerous to be around, okay? I don't want to go getting shown how I did all that because it's, you know, you're liable for stuff like that. I dealt with a lot of this stuff when I was in the salvage racket years ago when we used to have replace airbags and stuff like that. So, you know, do it at your own risk. It's just a nut on the end of it and then it slides out. Just make sure nothing's plugged in and never run power to it at all, because it'll go off. Anyway. Well, as you can tell, I got the cab in the shop. She's full here now, I can tell you that. I'm here making a dump run today, and I'm trying to get rid of everything I don't need. I got all the doors, skins cut off. You see how I done them. All I did is I grinded the edge off them all the way around, and then took an air chisel and cut it straight off. Took the door handle and all, because there might be some metal around that area I could possibly use. And now these bulky sections here, I haven't got to worry about. I got one loaded aboard the truck now with a bunch of, with the big chunks of the car. I got one more load to go. I went with one load this morning. And I got rid of all this stuff. I'm just trying to get ready now to get all the steel straightened away. I got them quarter sections brought in as well. So I got the cab in here. So I'm going to be getting started on that next. But not today. There's that screw I was talking about. I counted these two here, but I forgot there was one went here. And that's the screw that I had folded up. I had that screw put over there, and I had one silver one left over. So I just changed them around. Now all my screws are used up. So that is basically it. I have all the dash done now. All rewired, everything removed from it that it needs to be. And I have everything inside the car done, rewired and done. So now all I got left now is I got an airbag sensor out here I'm going to remove. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I just got to trace back the wire from that there and get them out of the system. Just wants to make sure that my main concern is that right here is your dash cluster. So in amongst that there's lights. One's a seatbelt light and the other one's your airbag light. They're the two that I'm concerned about. That by disconnecting them, that there's still power going to these. And I've been tracing wires to see where they goes and whatnot, to see if they goes out to the front or to the ECU. I'll have to cross that bridge when I gets to it. I removed all the components and traced them right back to wherever they went. And I just come to the end of stuff and unpinned them. And I only unpinned one wire from this. So I'm pretty sure that was for the airbags itself. The seatbelt, maybe it might be hooked up to that too, I don't know, but quite possibly the seatbelt light might still come on. We will see. But that's it for wiring on this now. I'm getting a bit carried away. This video is getting dragged on because wiring is boring. I got this straightened away. I got that straightened away, and I'm getting ready to start on this here. What you can see here now is the actual cab is in the shop. This is going to be in the next video now. I'm going to start on this here. I have a bunch of sheet metal here. I'm just reusing everything that I had. Okay, I have a lot of rust up here that I got to deal with. I want to do all this roof rust first because I can actually stand up front of this here now. And I might flip it on its back to do this back section in here. If you're not familiar with it, you're just starting on. That's all shot up there. So that has to be all welded up. And all this here has to be welded up. I seem to be getting a lot of people talking about getting a better cab, getting a roof, all that type stuff. You've got to understand that I'm trying to build something on a budget as if I was 17, 18 years old again. The problem I run into, I'm amazed I found this truck. This is a 67 Ford. There's none of them left. None of them around here. What's around here are restored, brought in from the mainland, that type of thing. None of these trucks are left, and if they are totally shot. The reasoning, I always like these early Fords, the bump side ones. I always like these better than the later ones. Even the later ones are hard to find. To find one of these trucks, and I'll say this again, on the mainland, I'll have to buy it sight unseen, and then I'll have to pay someone to ship it down. For me to go get a car, I got roughly, I wanted to say, to get a decent rig, I got to go 3,000 miles west or 3,000 miles south for me to find a good cab. Now you got to deal with a truck, trailer, hotels, food, all that type of stuff. Pay someone to ship it. We've had a number of rigs brought in. This one here come from Alberta, and I think this one here cost him, by the time it was landed here, close on $5,000 for shipping. That's the problem with us doing cars around the island. I've gotten used to it, and it's just the way I am of repairing this stuff because it's cheaper in the long run. I can go out and spend a 40-hour week on this and still be in money. But I don't look at it that way because this is a hobby for me. This truck here is a hobby to me. This is not work. And people confuse a hobby and work when they figures when they're welding stuff up, how many hours you got in it, this is value, that stuff like this. But like, you know, if you're playing softball and you spend every Saturday out playing softball, how do you charge that? You're enjoying yourself. You're spending time on something, so your time is money, as everybody says. So what about that? You're wasting money? No, you're enjoying yourself. This is enjoyment for me. Little update on some parts. I had some parts show up for the truck. What I have here is door seals, a windshield rubber, and a back window rubber. That's all I ordered, okay? And this is the infamous piece of paper. I ordered these parts here because I need them for the truck. There was no door rubbers. All the rubbers are on this bed, so I ordered the windshield rubbers, these door rubbers that goes along here, and the back window rubber. That's what I ordered for this here. Over here, I'm going to replace them anyway. I have a fuel filter from for this because the fuel filter, I'm going to replace it anyway. And I've also bought a stud kit for the manifolds. That's the ones that goes into the engine and bolts the manifold on, plus the actual stud kit for the exhaust to bolt up. I'm waiting on a set of gaskets now. That's all that's left to come for this section here. This stuff here, I'm going to go over what it all cost me. All this here is part of it. The reason why I'm replacing these here is I don't know if you can see it on this engine or not, but they're extremely bad. If you look over here, I probably showed them before, but the studs are horrible on this. Okay, and it's a known thing. I don't want to put this engine in the car and then have manifolds leaking. I think there's a few studs broken off. I'm not using this engine, but the one that I put in it, and I want to replace all that with new stuff, so that if I do run into any problems, it will unbolt. But I got that stud kit for that. Now the fun part comes in. What did I pay for this? And what did I pay for all this? So I've after crunching some numbers. This parts here that I got from Rock Auto, which is the fuel pump and the stud kit. I also include the cost of the gaskets. They haven't showed up yet because it was all into one price. All this stuff I think was, I don't know, $30 American or something like that when it came to it. When it left Rock Auto and got shipped to me, UPS, by the time it landed here, it cost me $99, is it $99? $99.51 for this here. So it's pretty well a $100 bill for this and a few gaskets. This here, I think, was roughly about, I think it was with the gasket and everything, I think it was about $25 American. That's that there. Now the fun part begins with the actual, this thing here. Now, this here, I got from Dennis Carpenter, the rubber kit itself, and the door rubbers and all that. This was on sale on the site for $149.95 US. That's what this kit was on their site. So when you take that And I had to, I think it was the shipping on it, US was $89, almost pretty well $89 for the shipping on this in US. So the total of that came to $239.92 is what it came to for the shipping and the cost of things, that's US. Then it had to be converted into Canadian dollars, which came to $304.53. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When it came up from the US to Canada, certain items this happens with, and this is crazy. It comes up, it stops at the border, and we got to pay taxes on it. Now, here's the dilemma I run into. I paid $149 for all this. When this came to the border, this needed a price on it, this needed a price on it, and this needed a price on it. And there's something else on it I got to go check out. I'm planning on going in on this anyway and figuring out what's going on. But anyway, each individual part was taxed. Now, I only paid $149 for this thing here in American. Now, when this was all said and done, the value total of all these parts was $430.65 for them parts that I paid $304 Canadian for, which included the shipping. Now, with that, I had to pay taxes on each individual piece, which was $74.66 over and above the $304 paid. So the rubber kit, I paid $478.70 for it. That's something else, isn't it? $149 kit, when it comes to my door, it's $478 Canadian. That gives our grand total on the investment so far is $635.70. This is why we try to do stuff for nothing around here, and we make do with what we have. It's so hard to build anything here. Like, it's a waste of time for me to try to build cars to sell, because I'll never get my money back. For me to take a car, for argument's sake, that down in the States will cost someone $30,000 to build, I'm willing to say here in Newfoundland, it's going to cost me close on 60. And that's still no word of a lie when it's all said and done. It is crazy when it comes to shipping and taxes for us to have anything here. And of course, the dollar is not the best, so that plays a part in it. But to me, that's not the issue. The issue here is that I was charged for a value on parts that I only paid $149 US for. Now, basically, the $304 is the total value. There's $89, almost $90 in shipping there. So I don't know what it was really. It's probably maybe $200. It was the value on these parts Canadian to me before shipping. So, like, I don't know how all this works. The Canadian government got us wild. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going ramping on for this now. It is what it is. I got the parts. They're here. I got to be careful next time. I was going to order more stuff from them, but I'm not because of this now. Places like Rock Auto, I like them because when I go in and press deliver, the total price comes up down the corner of what I'm paying. I don't pay nothing extra. This stuff here showed up at my door, and I had to pay this bill here to the post office before I can receive this here. So I paid for this. They shipped it. When it got to Newfoundland, I had to go down and pay for it again, pay some more on it to receive it. So, but that's it. That's the lesson for the day on what I'm going to be running into with this entire build. Most of my money is going to be spent on taxes and shipping on all these parts. So I'm trying to make do with what I can and only buy what I have to. And if I can buy local, I'll buy local. But that's where I'm going to leave this one. I got the wiring all clued up. I got the motor and transmission out. I got the dash all done. So I'm to the point now where I'm held up on this here, on this main shell part. And I got to get started on this. Anyway, I hope the tips were good. And until next time.